Right guys, so today I'm savaging the Airbox again. But first, please like and subscribe. Really appreciate that. I don't like begging for likes. I never wanted to do that, but unfortunately that's the way YouTube works, and I need you guys to like as many of the videos as you can when you have the time to, just to get them suggested to a wider audience, and I would really appreciate that. So any likes, shares or subscriptions, I really appreciate you really helping us. Right, so first things first. I saw this mod a while ago on an SLK where the guy basically drilled holes in the airbox. Now that's great, but you don't want to be drawing in too much engine bay, ambient engine bay air, because the temperatures in there get quite high and that's going to increase your intake air temps. So my method is quite aggressive, slightly different to what they did, I believe, but it has worked. It's helped the top end. Do I recommend it? I'm not saying I recommend it. But it's a cheap, easy method to gain some top end power, and it's a bit of a janky way of doing it, but it works. Right, so let's get into it. Right, so I've got my airbox, I've got a hole saw, and I've got a drill. What do I plan on doing with this? Well, you've seen me modify the top half of the airbox to get a bit better flow in there. But when you look at the actual intake, the cold air feed on the, well, next to the radiator, it's still quite small. It's still smaller than it should be. Now, I plan on making a proper upgraded cold air intake anyway, that's also silenced. So this airbox doesn't really mean much to me. So what I'm going to do is put some holes in it. Now, I know people with SLKs, I've seen a few people with SLKs do a similar sort of thing with drilling holes in the airbox. I'm not necessarily saying it's a good idea, because then you're taking in heat from the engine bay, which obviously you don't really want to be doing. You want the intake air to be as cold as possible. So I'm going to try and be careful where I actually make the holes, so that I don't cause myself problems further down the line and end up increasing my intake temperatures even more. Now, this is a big black plastic box that's going to absorb all the heat anyway, but I'm going to put some holes in the bottom here, trying to keep away from the engine side, and I'm going to put some in the side here. So let's get on with it and see how it goes. Right, so as you can see, I've made all the holes I wanted to make. There's no point doing some on the underside there, like this will be enough now, just to help it a bit. I've tried to do it sort of neatly-ish with the pattern, but yeah, we'll see what improvement this makes. And like I say, do I recommend doing this to your airbox? I don't know, to be honest. It's a janky thing to do, but if you want to keep a panel filter in your standard airbox and it looking sort of standard, this is probably a good way to get more air into the airbox. But like I say, it could increase your intake air temperatures, as it's taking air from the engine bay at this point. But I've done this on the cold side of the airbox, so the side that's closest to the wing. There are a few air holes around that area, so we'll just have to see. We'll have to see whether it has a positive effect or a negative effect. Right guys, so that's the airbox back in, all fitted in nice and neatly. I've also put a bit of that silly shiny heat reflective tape stuff down there, and I've also put some on the engine side of the airbox, just to try and keep that a bit cooler. Now what I was wanting to show you guys is that is the intake. That is all the car can breathe through, and it's not that big, maybe 60mm overall. Knowing Merc, it's probably closer to 50. But yeah, it's tiny for a car of this power, so you can't really see anything. The airbox doesn't look any different, but on this side, pointing up, you can see the holes, just about, maybe. So yeah, I'm gonna take this out and see whether it does make an improvement or not. Hopefully, again, I'll gain a little bit more responsiveness and the car won't sound so choked up. Now what this will do though is it will let more supercharger noise out, because obviously there's less encasement, shall we say. So there's an area, a large area now, which is like 200 and something mil in total for the sound to escape from now, so it probably will make a lot more noise now. But to be honest, I'd rather have it making more noise and gain a little bit of performance than be quiet and not gain anything. Like I say, I'm going to change the intake completely on this car, if the engine holds out. Touch wood, it will. But yeah, anyway, I'll take it for a drive. I'm not hanging about. Fortunately, Sky are. Wait for Sky to get out of the way eventually. You can hear that supercharger. Jesus Christ, it just keeps pulling. None of this will do the transmission any good, but you know, I already know it's knackered. Oh, that's a good place to stop. Wakey wakey, anybody not paying attention? Jesus. Now, with a stock compressor car, normally the power dies off towards the top end. Now, with that, it just keeps going. It just doesn't stop. And I'll put aftermarket air filters on these things and not had that kind of result. Strange. So how's it going to perform with a full 3-inch intake system? That's made a night and day difference. Just like taking that silly little bit of the restrictor out. Well, it's not silly, there was a reason it was there, but I don't care much for it. Yeah, this has made a surprising difference. And I'm certainly not complaining. If I get a chance, I'll do a 0 to 60, but I don't think I'm going to get a chance. But we'll see. That made a surprising amount of difference. Like I say, I've done aftermarket like cone filters and that on these cars before, but not had that level of improvement. Granted, though, they were cheap as eBay ones, like, you know, your £8 ones, the ones that are pathetic and normally disintegrate. But yeah, that's made quite a big improvement, as well as still keeping the engine bay looking stock. So I still don't know whether I'd recommend it, but it's not a bad way to squeeze a little bit more top end out of your stock engine. I mean, to be honest, that keeps pulling up the top end, and it doesn't struggle to pull now. Like, once you've got past the VVT point and it shifts, it just pulls. It just keeps pulling and pulling and pulling. So yeah, I think that was worthwhile, to be honest. Anyway, hope you find that a bit useful or a bit of fun. If you want to do that, you don't have to do that. You can do it properly with a proper cold air feed and all that, which is what I'm going to ultimately do when I actually have spare money. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed that. Like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.